Ooh. Ugh.
In the eye. In the eye.
He could still jump out,
Yeah.
maybe? I don't know.
I like that he's watching the blade.
Dude, you want to stab him in the eye?
I hate these parents.
It wouldn't disgust me if she just went deeper.
Oh, it's like a teddy bear in there.
Oh, that is.
stuffing.
It's like stuffing.
It still disgusts me, even
That
if
is
it's
gross.
shallow.
He doesn't even like flinch. Maybe you don't feel pain. when
No,
you're-
you definitely don't feel pain. You have an
Okay.
entire mushroom growing out your eye.
Do mushrooms feel pain? Can mushrooms cry? Oh!
Well, now they can.
Shout out to special effects, by the way.
Yeah,
That was
good.
Great.
Good practical effects.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, poor guy.
Aww. That is him from White Lotus. Oh my god.
Oh, I mean that's a lot.
It seemed like a lot. It
Well,
seemed
you
like
don't want to come in too little, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, you have to die. You can't just go into a coma.
It kind of looks like Joaquin Phoenix there.
Is this Walk the Line? Is this Walk the Line?
Ah, the French.
Ah, the French. I like the little bing, bing, bing.
It does be classy.
He's pissed, dude. He's like, what you gotta do
Speech,
this to me?
speech.
Like, give me a toast. Oh my god.
Here's to the
Will it be enough?
Yeah.
He's like putting all that strength and lifting that glass.
You gotta sniff it first. And swirl it around. Oh,
No,
okay.
no, you're
Okay.
killing yourself. You don't want to do that.
To the dome. All right, let's go.
One up and big dog.
Oh, okay. Why are you chugging your wine, I wonder?
What a natural question, Brandon.
Well, he's showing off.
Why are there already pills in the bottle?
Enough to kill a horse.
Oh,
And they're
My
two.
boys.
And they're two stallions.
they're two stallions.
stallions
Oh,
ready to go
no.
down.
Oh, oh.
Welcome back to New Rockstar. The Last of Us episode 3, long time just dropped in. They went ahead and killed 2 more people that I love and care about.
Oh my
and
gosh.
officially, if this was any other series, I'd be done.
You'd be done?
I'd
You'd
be
walk
finished.
if it were
because
any other
if
series.
this was The Walking Dead and they kill him again, I would have walked away, just like The Walking Dead. But I love
my
this
God.
series too much, and I care about Joel and Ellie. This is The Break Room, our daily show that keeps you updated on all the nerdy news that you guys need to know about. And today we're talking about all about The Last of Us episode 3. So grab a glass of pill wine and make sure your fence is set to electrify. Because we're about to dive in.
Oh my
dark.
gosh.
Oh my God, we're about to dive in. I'm Jessica Clemons. I'm really sad. Here with me today is Brandon Barrick.
I'm also sad.
Are you?
Yeah, I
Is this
am.
how you fight it? You're like, I fight it with happiness.
I fight it with happiness. I gotta say, my wife was very angry to see them both die.
At least they went together.
They went together.
At least they went together. And then I also have Anna Vanston.
Oh, I'll keep it positive. Love is love.
Oh,
Yay!
does love win? Does love win?
Not here.
I think love won. I think love won.
We'll talk about it.
Well,
We'll get into it.
It
We'll
doesn't
talk
survive.
Oh.
It dies.
Sad. Well, as a reminder, the first part of this episode will be spoiler-free. We will just be talking about the 3 episodes of the show we've seen so far. We recommend, if you haven't played the games, to avoid reading the comments if you don't want to be spoiled. And if you're in those comments, don't spoil things. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. There are a few foreshadowing moments in this episode for folks that have played the game, and we'll be leaving those out of the episode recap here at the top, and we'll cover them at the end. So when we get into what's different from the game and the show, we'll warn you. And when we get into full spoilers for everything, we'll warn you about that. But for now, the episode begins with Ellie and Joel 10 miles outside of the Boston QZ. They've left Tess behind. My poor Tess. Joel's hand is still healing, which is something I love about this show. The injuries, they don't just go away after 5 minutes. And Joel says he's not looking for an apology from Ellie. And Ellie tells him she wasn't planning on apologizing, and Tess's death isn't her fault.
Yeah, during that little moment in the woods too, something I love is that you see Joel reach into a bag and eat some beef jerky, and the second it like touches his tongue, he like has a moment of like, oh, because the first time we see him and Tess eat beef jerky is together.
I love that moment too of where he's like, do I feed this dumb
Yeah,
girl?
do I feed this
He just throws it
fucking
at
girl?
her.
Maybe that's what he was thinking. He wasn't mourning Tess. He was just like, should I feed this dumb?
Do I have
He
to
did.
feed a child? I don't remember.
Threw it like she was a dog.
Yeah. I mean, he's so angry. When I love, like, the anger they both are feeling. She's mad at him, he's mad at her. They're just angry, and they kind of squash the beef by just being like, I'm not gonna apologize. I don't want you to apologize. Great. Like they're both the perfect amount of stubborn for each other, and I really like that. Also, maybe a small nod to the video games. Joel tells Ellie's shooting at someone and missing happens more often than you think, which is like a great real life moment of like, yeah, it's not like the movies where you shoot someone once and you hit them and they're dead. Like, it's very hard to shoot back, and there's drama going on.
I heard one time about how inaccurate, like how close you have to be to someone with a pistol to actually have a good chance of hitting them. It's not great.
Well, if you have a small caliber pistol and you're like fire, you could shoot someone a few times and they're still alive. It's not like the video games and the movies, folks. Joel and Ellie walk into a gas station stash house. Again, a very video game moment of searching around all that. Ellie finds a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade game and mentions a friend who, quote, knew everything about this game. This is likely a reference to Ellie's friend Riley, who we'll definitely learn more about in a future episode, who's been name dropped before in the very first episode. So we'll get back to that.
Oh, small correction that I have to make.
Make a correction. I'm so sorry.
Listen, no, it's totally fine. Last show, I was like, I think we're going to be getting those flashbacks soon. I forgot you can see some of the episode titles. We got it.
Yeah, I think it's coming later. Well, it'll be soon enough. Soon enough. I also love treating Mortal Kombat 2's storyline as the sacred text. It's just the idea of this character is awesome. Ellie heads into the basement, insane, and scores a box of tampons before getting startled by an infected trapped under a pile of rubble. All I'm saying is, scan the room, honey.
Literally,
scan the room.
All you saw was feet, darkness, and she just plopped down and said, "Oh, one box of tampons."
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the idea that it's sealed, there's probably nothing alive in there.
No, but you don't know.
She drops down and immediately looks to the wall at the right, and I'm like, scan to the left.
Well, she didn't have anything but that knife too, so I was like, girl, what are you thinking?
I know.
Brave, courageous, yes. Dumb, also yes. Don't do that.
So she comes across this infected trapped under a pile of rubble. And Ellie goes full psycho mode and slices into the infected head slowly before stabbing it to death.
What? Can we, what? It seems like they're trying to make her a little sociopathic in this show, which is kind of left field from the game. I don't know why they're giving her so many,
I think it's more so just looking at I'm not afraid of you, and then seeing this is what you're made of is a fungus.
But she's entranced by the.
I think it's because that violent thing. This is also just me taking on if it killed everyone I knew, if it's killing everyone in the world, I was born into this world. I'm gonna show you that I'm not afraid of you, but also she gets bitten and she doesn't get affected, so she's just
you bring up a great point, Jess. She's born into this world, and we heard Tess say in the first episode, when she's talking about the kids who jumped her, she's like, young people born after the outbreak, they don't know how to negotiate. Their whole life is violence and fear and monsters. She's never been outside before. She's never been in the woods before. She sees the airplane. We'll get that in a second, right? So the fact that the only time she's been close to an infected that we know of, it was a very devastating moment in her life, and we'll learn all more about that. But she's able to be up close and examine one. Fedra in their school hasn't really taught them much about these things, or what they've told them is BS. So I think she's interested, and she kind of wants to know. And as a kid, you get close to snakes because they're dangerous, and your parents told you not to, but you want to be close to them.
But do you dissect them with
I don't want to talk about what I did as a young kid.
I wouldn't call it dissected. It's more. I think it's genuinely just I'm not afraid of you, and this is a monster.
But she is. I think she's not afraid, but she is very afraid. But this is her chance to get as close. It's going to the zoo and getting in the lion cage with a piece of glass.
When she kills a small animal, then I would be okay.
This isn't a standalone thing. In the first episode, when Joel's beating the shit out of that guy, pardon the language, she has that same look
watching,
of So this might be a plot
I think it's
point
new to her.
back.
I disagree, but I think
it could be.
I'm excited.
There was also a great story that was in the podcast about this episode, or about episode 2. Where the creators talked about a backstory. They were gonna have a test where she had to leave her son behind, who was infected in the basement and couldn't kill him. That could have been her son. That could have been Tessa's son, who got out and got trapped in there. I don't know. Possibly. Who knows?
He did look very specific.
I wonder. Yeah. Do you think that was a guy who was hiding out down there and then somehow got infected by the fungus and then the collapse and he's stuck down
He's
there.
like, oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God, I'm gonna change under this
I'm
rubble.
gonna change.
Honestly, at first I thought it might be Frank, but that was proven wrong.
that was
But
proven
I don't know.
wrong.
It looks specific. I don't
That would
know.
have been interesting if they did that to Frank. Joel stashes his assault rifle, saying there's not a ton of ammo out there for it.
Very smart.
Ellie, just like in the games, asked for a gun again.
Wouldn't you? I would be asking for
Yeah.
a gun constantly.
I absolutely would be. I was like, yeah, you got to protect yourself in this, I guess. As they leave the stash house, they pass a crashed plane and a mass grave of bodies that were killed by Fedra to better control the population. And it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's
That was a great moment and a reminder for all of us as we complain about going through the airports and the process and it sucks. We get to fly through the sky, folks. What an amazing feat. What a cool thing.
Get to fly and sometimes crash and die.
Well, it happens less often than you think. Driving in a car is much more dangerous than flying in an airplane.
Well, there's a lot of cars. Joel mentions the goddamn pancake mix while describing how the outbreak most likely began. Sounded real familiar, except for the whole biting thing.
Yeah, I loved this kind of explanation of it because it is like the question of like how did this outbreak happen so fast, but the idea that one single batch that is put in shelves around the world around the same time, that kind of explained it really well. I like that. That made a lot of sense. Yeah, he like kind of chokes up before he says, pancake mix. Tough stuff. Well, it's 2003 again, folks. We've gone back in time. We meet Bill, played by Nick Offerman, a disaster prepper, survivalist, hiding in his basement safe while Fedra clears his neighborhood. One thing that was interesting about this to me, Fedra was set up pretty quick.
In the games?
Well, in the show, because this is 3 days after the initial outbreak. It's like September 30th, 2003, when they're rounding up people. And the sign says Fedra at the bottom. So has the government collapsed that fast that Fedra has formed and they've already printed signs that say Fedra? I mean that's a good fascist takeover to get a logo together that fast.
I think it's also the quicker you gotta get into it. You,
gotta-
have to clear out. You gotta bomb things. You gotta fix
Well,
it. So I think they just immediately
Yeah.
assembled a team because probably half of government was already taken over.
Or that's what was Fedra always lurking underneath
Oh
the
God!
thin
forbid.
veneer of our military.
Oh,
Fedra was always
God.
there, ready to go.
When Nick Offerman says the government's Nazis, he's referring to Fedra.
Yeah, they were always there. Operation Jade Hound or whatever it was called. Look it up. They're coming for us. Anyways, we get another cameo from series creator Craig Mazin as one of the soldiers yelling, "No, sir, we're in the basement now. No one here." So Craig Mazin all over the show. And Bill says,
Not today, you New World Order jackboot fucks.
which we included in this recap because it's the best line on television so far this year. It's early in the year, but so far it's taken the cake. Bill goes to town, literally building the neighborhood of his prepper dreams, complete with booby traps, electric fences, running hot water, and electricity.
Okay, during all of this, and when they're showing the whole mass grave thing, listen, the amount of gay symbolism they, I would say peppered, but it's like giant boulders of pepper that they threw on there. There was the rainbow flag that she was swaddling the baby, and that was the first thing we saw.
The fabric had little rainbows on it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I was like, oh, cute nod. And then when Nick Offerman, or when Bill is reading all the things, he carries this giant box of wine that just says Gamus, and I literally have in my notes, all caps, not the Gamus wine. Like,
Is it
come
Gamus?
on.
I thought it said Camus, but does it say
Oh,
Gamus?
was it Was this
I hope it doesn't
Does it
say
say
Gamus.
into your
I
head?
wanted it to
You
say
want it to say
Gamus.
Gamus? I don't know.
Wow, I hope so, because
Run back
that
the
was
tape.
too on
Run
the
back the
nose.
tape.
I
Let's see what that
hope
box
I
says.
really hope it does not say Gamus.
Because I was like, that is so on the nose.
I mean,
They're like, are you sure?
The Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah,
was a
the
little
Linda
on the
Ronstadt.
nose.
Okay, to be fair, our previews are like 720p. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
working at 420.
We did
I'm not
have a
working with
screener.
lot
It's
here.
sometimes hard to see, but
Yeah.
we'll double check on that.
I'll keep it in. Keep it in if
Keep
it
it
says
in.
Camus.
Shame her.
It's fine.
Shame.
It's fine. It should say Gamus then. I take it
My
back.
favorite wine, Gamus. Barreled with 13 years. 4 years later, and Frank has found himself in one of Bill's traps. Bill,
And I think this is the trap we see Bill building in that
Yeah.
kind of sequence. We see him like looking over some chicken wire and covering it with mud. I like to imagine that was the exact same trap.
I would say so.
Also, like Bill had a plan. He was ready. Like
what happens.
he's been waiting
My-
for this day and knew exactly what to do.
These people are my favorite people in series. When we did it in
Yeah.
Cloverfield Lane, I was like, yeah, this man is prepared, but also we should be worried that this man is prepared.
I mean, both of your examples of people are not great, but
No, yeah.
Bill's better than the than John Goodman from
There's
Cloverfield
some
Lane.
survivalists that are fine,
Yeah.
but I was nervous about Bill at first.
Yeah.
Bill tests Frank for the infection with one of Fedra's scanners because he got a hold of one, and the results are
I love
clean.
that. How did you get that?
He probably. Do you think he killed a Fedra agent to take it?
I like to imagine he found a dead
did
one
not
already,
just-
but he probably also killed a Federer.
He was
Why not?
against them.
They're
He
not
was
great.
very
They're not
against
great.
them. Bill cooks Frank the meal of a lifetime. I would never get this meal even before this, and it's a lifetime, and pairs his rabbit with a, how do you say
A
this?
Beaujolais.
Oh, say it one more time.
A Beaujolais. The Beaujolais are the first grapes of. There's a Beaujolais Nouveau, which is the first grapes of the season that they don't allow to age. They bottle it
that's
immediately.
too tart.
Well, it's actually very sweet. It's
it?
like it comes out. It's the first grapes of the season, and usually eat it very early in the year when they harvest, or early fall is when it comes out. But this wasn't a
Bill.
Beaujolais Nouveau. This was just a regular Beaujolais.
Oh my god. Okay.
I have a drinking problem.
No, you're fine. We looked up this exact bottle of wine, and it cost about $10.
Yeah. Also,
So-
if John was a coward and the thumb for this video isn't what's he cooking with Bill,
Coward.
send a letter
With
to
the
New
rabbit,
Rockstars.
with the rabbit.
Yeah, what was he cooking?
But who knows how many credits that thing is worth in the apocalypse? You know what I'm
that's good
saying?
wine, that's good
Also,
wine.
doesn't mean it's not great wine if it's just $10.
Yeah.
Either way, the man knows how to ace a first
I mean, he
date.
nails it. When he spins the plate so that the perfect image is placed in front of Frank, like that's a man with detail.
Well, let me get into
He's
this.
got a charger plate too.
Let's get into how this
Yeah.
date kind of went downhill for a minute. After lunch, Frank sits down at Bill's mother's untouched piano and starts playing a truly horrendous version of Linda Ronstadt's Long Time. It's so bad. I love that they both sing very poorly in this episode.
Oh.
It doesn't matter at all. It's very sweet.
I mean, Bill has so much heart, and I love that Bill
Yeah.
cannot stand what this man is doing to this song, and he's like, "All right, well, show me what you got," and it's so heartful and tender. Nick Offerman's just launched a tour. He's going across the U.S. right now. He's going to do a little show that has song. He's going to sing in it and stuff. Check it out. Check out his website. That's a free promo for you, Nick. But that moment, so tender, so tense the whole time.
I was
because they still
embarrassed.
don't. I mean, these are two strangers who have met. You know, Bill's got a lot to protect here. He's very scared, and he's slowly letting this man in. Let him shower. Was very interested in the shower that was happening. But yeah, this moment at the piano was so sweet, and he sings better than me. What a beautiful man.
You sing very well. Don't
Oh,
ever put
how
yourself
dare you,
down
how
like
dare
that.
you.
Bill cuts Frank off, seemingly reminded of an old lover.
Ah.
They kiss, and Bill finally tells Frank his name. Frank tells Bill to take a shower because it's sex time.
One thing I know with this kiss, they framed it very similarly to Tess and the zombie.
Yeah.
And last time they did that kiss and that setup, it meant certain doom. So I was like, ooh, I wonder if that was a little breadcrumb that this is not going to be great alive ending for these two.
Yeah, the
people,
last kiss
but-
we saw was the kiss of death.
And see, at this point too, I'm not gonna spoil anything yet.
Save
I
it.
just want to say what I would give to see this episode as someone who hasn't played the game because it was colored, it was
Yeah.
tinted. The whole thing was tinted for me.
Yeah. My wife has never played the game, and she asked me, "Is this like the video game?" And I said, "We'll talk about that more."
Frank plays his cards right and tells Bill he's only getting that good if he stays for a few
That
days.
was a smart move, a very smart move.
Yeah, yes it was. We did talk
yeah.
about this. I would have done the exact same thing. Days turn to months and months turn to years.
That jump cut from them
Get
first
into
coming
it?
together and then a fight.
Get into it because
yeah.
I genuinely,
Okay.
I was like, I'm Frank in this situation.
So 3 years later, and Frank just wants to paint the goddamn neighborhood, Bill. What do you got to save paint for? What's the paint gonna be
He
good
said,
for?
no one's gonna come.
Resource management. And he also wants to have a few friends over, which Bill is just not having. But I think we can all empathize with that argument.
I was gonna say, y'all two have been very survivalist minded, realist. If this
Yeah.
were the apocalypse, if you were Bill in that situation and your partner was like, I want to start having people over,
Right.
would
Oh,
you
no.
be opposed to that?
The
or
thing
would
is,
you-
it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
horrible,
It's a horrible
idea.
idea.
But I know I would be Frank. That's you get to build things that keep us safe. I don't do those things.
Yeah, yeah.
You before this, you were doing this. I was a teacher. I would probably be like, let me paint the mailbox. Let people in. I'd go crazy. I'd be weird.
So if you're keeping track to all the time jumps, this is 7 years into the pandemic. It's 2010, and Joel and Tess visit Bill and Frank for the first time. So good to see Tess alive again. Young Tess looking great. Young Joel also looking great. He's about 46, 43 here. He was 36 in 2003. It's 7 years later.
I'm an
He's
actor,
about 43
Brandon.
here.
If it's not in the script, I can't do it.
This is a very useful timeline info for Joel and Tess's relationship to know where they're at. They're working together. They're smuggling. They're getting it done. It's clear now that like Tess has been talking to Frank over the radio. Again, Frank talking to people over the radio without Bill's knowledge is a little iffy. It's a little iffy.
I was on Bill's side.
That's very
there.
dangerous. I am on Bill's side
yeah.
there. We now know Joel and Tommy probably got to Boston pretty early on and at least met Tess around the same time, okay?
During that dinner party as well, or luncheon?
It was a luncheon.
It was a
We'll call it
luncheon.
luncheon.
I did notice, I was looking at their plates, and I saw an interesting detail. Frank's was completely empty.
Okay.
Tess's was almost completely empty. Joel's mostly full, and then Bill's was like he had barely touched his food. And I think that this is sort of showing their comfort levels.
Yes.
Like Joel and Bill, who are the most reserved, like unsure of each other, who should be ready to draw their guns at any time, are like barely touching their food, not eating anything. And then Frank and Tess are just like, oh, it's a great luncheon, or have already chowed down everything.
Because like Joel there is like, this could be poison. They're gonna like, they're trying to poison us so they can put us in the basement and cut us up and because they're cannibals.
Or at the very least,
Bill-
Bill's sitting there with a gun.
Well, and Bill is like, I don't have, the second I bend over to take a bite of food, this Joel is gonna kill all of us, right? Like they're here to just take over. Meanwhile, Frank and Tess, who have probably each been talking to over the radio without their partner's consent, are like, yeah, we're good friends. We're getting along fine. What's everyone's big deal? That was a great tense luncheon. I love that line where Joel is like, get the gun out of my fucking face. And Bill respects that. He's like, this is a good man. Joel uses his construction background to convince Bill he needs to fix up his fence. We also learned that it was Frank's idea to use codes on the radio that came back. And they resolved that radio thing very well this episode.
I love that. Another 3 years pass. Bill and Frank have fixed up their fence, and Frank shows Bill his little strawberry patch.
Is that a euphemism?
It isn't, but he's
Show
about
you
to.
my little
They almost
strawberry
got
patch.
really into the strawberry patch.
mean-
and that would have been a euphemism.
Both my wife and I were like, not on the strawberries! That takes a full year, and strawberries only bloom once, and then you have to replant them. That's very dangerous. How dare you? Not on the strawberries.
Oh no, just got so excited about
I
the
know.
strawberry patch.
As soon as the strawberries happen, I said ruin the strawberries. I said destroy the strawberries. Roll it. Roll
No.
it. Bill gives, the heat of the moment. Bill gives a little Nick Offerman giggle. That little, can you do it? When Nick Offerman giggles, it's so adorable.
It's cute.
And this is the moment I knew they were fucking dead.
No, Jess!
Why can't we have nice things?
No.
Why can't we have nice things? Bill,
In that, so sorry. I literally just remembered. In that conversation, they have the little offhanded comment at the time of like, "I like you being older than me." When Frank says that to Bill, a little bit of foreshadowing for how you. Also useless. I was gonna say useless.
I think it's also the line when he was like, I was fine here by myself. I always felt
Yeah.
safe until you showed up because now he has something to protect. I'll never have that.
important dialogue over
I'll
strawberries.
never have that. Oh, I know. Destroy the strawberries. Roll in it. Put your backs in it. Sometimes later, Raiders attack you guys. Bill is standing in the street, firing at the Raiders like an idiot.
Get some
literally
cover.
alone. No cover, and that's why he gets shot.
Yeah.
And takes a gunshot straight to the abdomen. He tells Frank to call Joel, expecting not to make it. Bill is so cute. He had a plan for this exact moment
Yeah.
so Frank would be taken care of in case anything happened to
And
him.
I love that Frank is just like not having it. He's like hyper focused. He's like he's keeping Bill talking, but he's like Bill's like the fence is you have to switch the generator every 3 days, and he's like just shut up. I'm getting a bullet out of you, my guy.
It was a great writing.
Yeah.
Great writing for them. A great way to convey how much people can find love, especially in a darkest moment, and then
Yeah.
just find their partner, their soulmate, actually in real life.
Yeah.
So it's,
Sure did seem like he died though, didn't
They did make it
They
seem
held
like
for
Bill-
like 10
Yeah.
seconds.
Oh, we'll get
The
into
slow
it.
fade to black, the voices are kind of
Yeah.
fading,
Yeah.
but Bill survives, folks. It's now another 10 years later, and we've caught up to present day. It's 2023, or close to present day. Frank has taken up painting, and unfortunately has some sort of incurable disease that keeps him in a wheelchair.
I kind of think this is potentially MS,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
My mom has MS, and I know a little bit about it. It tends to, it's a what's the word? Degenerating disease? Is that
Degenerative?
the word?
Yeah.
Degenerative disease, exactly. And so I could see him slowly kind of losing his
Yeah,
nerve
he seems to
function.
be the ability to walk, his arms, you see half of the painting is really
Yeah,
good.
you have the moment where he's like looking at his
trailing
painting.
off.
I also, when Bill is putting Frank to bed, you see in the background, and you see it kind of throughout the rest of the episode, you can see paintings from before he lost his ability to paint, and he's always painting Bill.
Oh, it's great. An easy to miss detail that I really liked. At lunch, Bill asked Frank if he's taken his pills yet. Frank hadn't because he was already planning to not make it through the week. Like, he's kind of thinking through this already. And I was waiting for Joel to bust through the door to grab that pill bag and lick it.
Oh my God.
Sweet pills.
One show. I beg of you, Brandon.
Joel's got a pill problem.
Someone
folks.
get
He's a
Brandon
pill
off
popper.
his pill
He's a
problem.
popper. Frank declares today is the last day. And Bill quickly cycles through all the stages of grief. And just like a heart-wrenching scene. Frank has the whole itinerary planned, including tying the knot with Bill and having a wonderful dinner with a side of euthanasia. They even go to the boutique that Frank demanded to fix up to get their tuxes and everything and get married. Bill and Frank's last day is set to Max Richter's On the Nature of Daylight. More on that in a moment. The couple gets married and finishes dinner. Bill has dosed the entire bottle of wine so they can spend eternity together in their bedroom, which I really agree with because Frank was like, I want to die in your arms. And all I was thinking about was like 5 minutes after that where Bill has to be like,
Yeah.
and now I gotta.
You just place him.
I know, but then you gotta bury it, and then you're supposed to live on without
Or
this dude.
you can. I'm sure they probably
Come on.
talked about what to do with the body off screen. It wasn't going to add
Yeah.
to the storyline.
Yeah. They do go to bed and end their story together, closed in the room. I mean, so good.
So good. Joel and Ellie arrive at Bill and Frank's after needing to enter the gate code to get in. Joel immediately knows something's a little off. Ellie
The flowers.
Shut up! Don't talk to
The
me anymore.
flowers.
I remember after this episode, I immediately texted John and said I'm not going to be on it. I was like, I can't talk about this. It
I
broke
immediately
me
went
down.
out and watered the flowers on my balcony.
Carrie said, "What are you doing?"
I was like, they have to know we're alive, Carrie.
Ellie finds the note Bill has left along with a car key. In the note, Bill tells Joel that he was happy everyone had died, but he was wrong. Saving Frank became his purpose, and Joel knows Ellie is now his purpose. Joel crumbles up the note, seemingly still not ready to take on this responsibility. He and Ellie load up the truck with supplies. The radio is playing 80s music, which tells Joel and Ellie that the trouble they heard in episode 1 was just because Bill set the playlist to play if he didn't reset the system for a few weeks.
Which I was wondering how they're gonna wrap up that detail, and that was nice. I
It was
like
very
that.
great.
Yeah.
Ellie snags a bunch of toilet paper, as you should, and a gun from a drawer. The same gun Frank picks up as they're raided earlier in the episode, and I bet that won't come back.
She didn't tell Joel about it. She's been wanting that gun.
She's like, he's going back, where'd you get that? And it also maybe has like 2 bullets. After a shower, Ellie changes into her outfit from the game.
The red shirt.
That's
We made it.
In this case, red shirt being a good thing.
Yeah, not the...
They hit the road, and Ellie grabs a cassette tape labeled Mix for Bill and throws on Linda Ronstadt's Long, Long Time. One final tribute to Frank and Bill's relationship. Also, Joel knows all the words to it. I love that this is the last song they were listening to on this
What are you
mix.
implying?
That Linda Ronstadt was the secret code for I'm gay, you gay, we get together? Let's be gay. I don't know. I just like that.
Anything goes in the apocalypse.
Anything goes in the QZ.
Anything goes in the QZ.
I also like that Joel was like, no, this is a good fucking song, Ellie. Get your shit together, okay? Let's go. I love that this is the last song they were listening to on this mix. I mean, just Bill and Frank, guys. The two leave the neighborhood and head west to Wyoming as we pull back on an open window with curtains blowing in the breeze. A common The Last of Us sight. It was often on the load screen. You would see it in the game.
In novels, it means sex. So
It does?
anything happens, anything goes in the QZ.
I also really liked that this moment was what Frank had envisioned early on, where he's like, someday we're going to have friends and they're going to come visit. In this final shot, we were all kind of worried we were about to see a puddle of goo on the bed. But what the final shot was, there was nothing in this shot that indicated the world they live in now. It was their friends driving away and pulling through an open window, and there was no infected.
I guess
there
from
was
that,
no burning. There was no Fedra.
Just a
it was
picture
just
of
beautiful.
Bill.
Just
a portrait, an ode to
Oh.
Bill. Also, when they get in the car, it's Ellie's first time in the car. She makes a comment that it's like a spaceship,
Yeah.
which is just a cute little nod because Ellie wants to be an astronaut.
She doesn't know what a
That's known in the
seatbelt is,
games.
which I thought was adorable.
Safety
When-
is so cute.
I forgot that she was born in the time of the pandemic,
Yeah.
and I kept being like, why is she acting so reckless? Why does she not know what a seatbelt
doesn't
is? And then I
know.
genuinely was like, oh, I forget
She's
that
seen a
there's a
forest
lot of
before.
kids.
Yeah. So speaking of that final song that plays, I want to talk about the music in general in this
Okay.
episode because everything had, I feel like, so much meaning.
Yeah.
So you talked about Long, Long Time. They play that on the piano in the beginning. It's what the song ends with. And I thought this was just like the perfect bookmark because looking at the lyrics, it starts with, love will abide, take things in stride, sounds like good advice, but there's no one at my side, which is, obviously Bill is longing for companionship when he meets Frank. He's feeling he's been alone for all these years. But then it ends with some of the lyrics at the end of the song are, I've done everything I know to try and change your mind, and I think I'm gonna miss you for a long, long time. And I know, not just with Bill and Frank, but also with Joel and Tess.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like it's the perfect bookend song. Also, in the games, the song that normally plays in the car when they pop in the cassette tape is Alone and Forsaken by Hank Williams, which is also a song about someone that he loves leaving him and him being really sad about that. But the biggest downer of this whole episode, while they're having the montage, the final day montage, was On the Nature of Daylight by Mac Richter, and they have to stop using this song in movies because I will cry every time. They used it in Arrival.
Yes.
They used it in Shutter Island. You gotta stop, please.
As soon as that song started, I was like, I know, I've heard this song before. I Shazammed it.
Yeah, it's a very famous song. But what I also think is super interesting is that in Shutter Island especially, they combine it with Dinah Washington's song, This Bitter Earth. She sort of sings the melody
Dina Washington?
Dina Washington, thank you so much. I've only ever seen it written. So she sings that melody over the song.
Okay.
And some of those lyrics, which might be coincidental, but I think it's cool, is it includes such bangers as "What good is love that no one shares?" and "Today you are young, too soon you're old,"
Bangers.
which I'm like, whoa, full circle into the story. And then just a couple more little tidbits. The music at the beginning when Bill is stealing all that stuff, scavenging, is that one of the songs that plays is I'm Coming Home to Stay by Fleetwood Mac. And I think, maybe this is reaching, I think they chose this song because Stevie Nicks is a well-known gay icon.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's another little along with, Gay Miss Wine and the Rainbow Thing, I think they might
Stevie
be
Nicks.
onto it.
Stevie Nicks made Gay Miss Wine. Confirmed.
She is a witch.
She is a witch. Yeah, maybe he's also a witch.
Ooh, maybe.
Ooh.
Witch.
And then the other song that plays is White Room by Cream, which doesn't have any LGBTQIA plus ties as long as I know, as far as I know.
The title's White Room by Cream.
Jess, not this show. Not this show.
Hey, I'm just saying,
Not
I'll take
this.
one ticket.
Not this. But on a more depressing note than that, some of the lyrics to that song are, I'll wait in this place where the sun never shines, wait in this place where the shadows run from themselves. And I just feel like these lyrics are really tying into the atmosphere.
All those songs played in that one episode?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I didn't
I
catch
mean,
that.
a very song-heavy episode, really, an incredible episode. I think the biggest question I really have coming out of this episode that I want to ask you two smart people. Craig Mazin on the Last of Us podcast talks about the theme of this show being love is dangerous. He brought this up in the first episode of the After Show podcast. Check it out if you haven't already. Specifically, he's referencing this to Joel's relationship with both his daughter and Ellie. That love is a great thing, but sometimes it can be very dangerous. It can put you in danger. Episode 3 was mostly a contained love story between Bill and Frank. So what I'm wondering, is this show going to show us a bunch of different portrayals of the power of love? The power of love. Are we going to see a bunch of different portrayals of the power of love? Or do we just get this episode to have some hope in the apocalypse? Because there's been so much downer in these first 2 episodes. That this 3rd episode was supposed to be, here's a good love story. How do you guys interpret the way they're using love in this episode?
I think that there is still, in this episode, a dangerousness to the love that is portrayed.
Okay.
I don't think Bill would have ever put himself at risk or sacrificed himself or offed himself if Frank wasn't in his life.
When you say put himself at risk, that moment during the raid when he's in the middle of the street shooting and Frank literally has to pull him back, he put himself in extreme danger, probably for Frank.
And the thing is, that's the hard part, because love makes you do crazy things. Ask Brandon.
That's
He's
true.
he's a maniac,
I'm a
and Carrie's
maniac.
perfect. But it's also he didn't think that if he dies, he did have a plan, yes, but Frank didn't know that plan yet.
Right.
If Bill would have died on the street while Frank was asleep
if he got a headshot
how would he have
immediately?
known? And then
Yeah.
you just left him to die as well, because Frank doesn't have the same survivalist instinct
Right.
as Bill does.
He's gonna waste all the paint immediately.
If it was me, absolutely, the entire street would have been pink. But I think, and also it's interesting because it's like, yeah, love in what way, right? It is physical and it is metaphorical.
Right.
So it's like what Frank and Bill had was like physically, love was very dangerous. Doing all these acts was very dangerous. Letting this man into your home, not knowing what he could have been bringing, is very dangerous. Like people are following him. What happened after that? But for Ellie and Joel, it's like you can't get too close. You can't do all these things. What happens when you're like, if they do even like each other? It's like, what?
They're so
what's
guarded,
gonna
they're
be
not
dangerous
willing
there?
to like each other yet.
And I think theirs is more of a metaphorical now than it is a physical.
And I kind of agree with you, Anna. Like, I think Bill and Frank's relationship, it was a great representation of love and how powerful that is and what two people can be for each other. But I also found it very dangerous because they did not adapt to their surroundings. Right, they didn't adapt to what was happening to the world. They walled themselves off, literally, and stayed the way they had been. Yes, they're living the life of luxury with hot water and fresh food and all that stuff. Sounds great. But, like, if that falls apart, when Joel shows up and is like, yo, this fence ain't gonna last. And, like, you guys might be in your little paradise, but there's gonna be raiders coming. And, like, they're gonna keep trying to get through. And, like, you having this little hideaway of love, it might be nice for you two, but it's very dangerous. And you're not adapting to the world around you.
I think he
in a
was
good way.
actively trying. I think they started, once Joel said that, I assume they were just running out of resources.
Right.
Like, it's like you have, and also he only
Well, they
programmed
don't have
what
the
was
right
around.
fences at the Home Depot, right?
And also the Home Depot was farther away.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the same area. So I was like, oh, and then I was also like, who knows what's at the Home Depot already, people that have been turned. And then on top of that, I was like, you are going to eventually use everything at Home Depot.
You know
Cut your own
there's
trees.
You know there's going to be at least one infected guy with an orange apron who's
easy.
like, I know more than you.
Hi there. Is there a project you're working on?
I know more than you.
I did appreciate like the way the show acknowledges like at least batteries can't just sit around for 20 years and be good. You know, he had taken apart a battery with the sulfuric acid and all
put it
the
in the
components and
fridge,
put it in the
too.
fridge so that like it had to be put together again. I love that. I appreciate that. I hate when shows are like, oh, the car's been sitting here for 20
But
years
in
and it starts
Jurassic
up and
Park,
drives
it
away.
was okay.
No, it was never okay.
But to answer your question, or the second part of the question, I do think that they are going to be exploring throughout this whole season different instances of love, different types of love. They're going to build it up, show you different aspects of it, and we've seen 3 episodes now where they then tear it down, so
It doesn't last
it's gonna be a roller
forever.
coaster.
Yeah.
What happens when you meet the people that are married that hate each other?
Yeah. Oh, that too. Yeah. Because Bill could have gone on living without Frank, but he chose to kill himself because of love. Like he was like, I don't want to be without this person. And Bill's a guy who's well adapted to surviving in this atmosphere, and like he even was like, nope, love is so powerful it's going to take me out. And you know, Joel's unrequited, unacknowledged love for Tess is dangerous too because Ellie was afraid to read in the letter Tess's name, thinking it might set Joel off.
Well, he said never.
Never say her. Oh, that's right. Never say her name again.
He said never say her name. That's why I was also like, Ellie kind of did it in a dick way of being like, you said not to bring. You
well,
said
Ellie's
not to say
also
her name.
scared because like this was where she was supposed to be,
100.
and now this is gone too. Tess is gone. Bill and Frank are gone, and I'm still stuck with Joel, who hates me and is throwing beef jerky at me. What am I gonna do?
Where are we going? Get the battery.
Well, we have lots more to talk about this episode, but first we want to remind you to check out newrockstarsmerch.com, where you can always grab the latest and greatest merch from New Rockstars. And we have some exciting news. Right now you can grab this incredible The Last of Us inspired shirt, Lost in the Darkness, inspired by the games and images from the show. Grab yours before the season ends and get ready for season 2 because it's coming, folks. It's official. You can also grab shirts, hoodies, hats, and pins, and so much more featuring the New Rockstars logo. And very, very soon, we'll have our Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania-inspired merch for sale just in time for the premiere. You don't want to be caught at the premiere without it. Keep an eye out for that. Also, if you know the outbreak happens tomorrow, you want to be rocking a new Rockstars merch when you're shambling around. Mushrooms growing out of your face.
What was that second one?
I have no idea. A baby lost in the pandemic.
So be sure to check out the website for that. And as always, support the channel and check out newrockstarsmerch.com. Another question I have for you both, a very cynical take on this episode, is that Frank is a bit of a prisoner in this relationship, you know? What a prison to be in. But like he doesn't, you can't leave, right? Joel makes the argument that they won't be safe in their compound because they're unable to adapt to the realities of this new world, what we're talking about. Frank and Bill get their happy ending, but do you think this is a good idea for them? What would you do in this situation? Would you stay in this compound that you've like built up?
Absolutely. I also was like, I would fake being in love with someone immediately to stay in that compound.
Yeah, that.
You think he faked it?
No, I don't think. No.
Oh, I
not
thought
at
you were
all.
throwing that out there, and I
No,
was
not
like,
at
I don't
all.
know if I'm
Well,
ready.
it's been, it was
They loved each
2004
other.
when he finds Frank. It's
Yeah.
a year, or less than a year, or a year plus. Like a little bit of time has gone by. You know, I think the way I read it, because
Wait, keep going.
well, we had this conversation in my household.
Wait a minute.
Was like Frank faking his attraction to
first.
Bill at first, because I mean, you're getting electricity, water, security, food. You know, Nick Offerman's not a bad-looking guy. He smells bad, clearly. He's got to take a shower, but
I was very skeptical
Yeah.
of Frank's intentions at first.
yeah,
I
it was well, because I mean, Frank says he was with 10 people and now they're gone. So he clearly killed those 10
He
people
killed
and
the
ate
10
them,
He
right?
ate
Yeah.
those 10 people. Yeah.
And the moment in the hole where they're kind of, they don't see each other yet, and they're like, do you have a gun? And he's like, unsure if he should say if he has a gun or not. When Bill asks, they can't see each other yet. They can't size each other up. But, you know, is Frank being very manipulative there in a weird way? I don't know.
I didn't think it was until they
He
started.
just fell into a booby trap. I would be afraid I'm going to be eaten by someone.
I think it was also, I mean, you're already in the booby trap, so there's no use in you lying about anything. You're already taken. It wasn't until he started playing the piano, Nick Offerman, I was like, oh, he's going to hit him over the head. I was like, he's going to beat him over the head and take their house. I was like, easy, do it. Easy done, easy come, easy go.
I think, you know, Frank was really on edge. Like, do I eat this food? Much like we were talking about Joel, is this poisoned? Like, Frank was like, do I eat this? I don't know. And when he was when Bill's still in the kitchen and like he's kind of scoping around the house and he notices like the dust, which I thought was very interesting. In his mind, he's thinking, this is a man who's very capable, who's taking care of things, but he's allowed this house that clearly wasn't decorated by him to kind of settle in dust. What is happening here? What's going on? Like, there's both little things they notice about each other that puts them on edge, but Linda Ronstadt brings them together.
It kind of also, it helps flesh out the character because later he wants to, like, he very much cares about the appearance of everything and things like that.
They complimented each other very well.
What I thought you were going to say about the piano scene was it wasn't until a tear rolled down Frank's cheek that I was like, wait, does he not have ulterior motives? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
The actor was playing it so oddly sketchy. I felt. I mean,
well, I think both.
Plus-
I think they're smartly both on edge. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, Frank was like willing to get into a shower, strip down and get into a shower, and be in a locked room with only one way out, right? So he trusted Bill,
Naked.
or he was at least willing. Well, if I'm gonna die, at least I get a shower out of this. This
That's the thing, they both each had just
Yeah.
good motives, but also motives to be like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do. What's the next step? There is no like actual like, what's the next step? You just had to
Right.
keep going with it and be like, I hope he lets me stay.
I hope he lets me
oh,
say.
but circling back, I hate that word hostage. I don't think he was a hostage.
No,
No,
oh,
he
he's a
wasn't a
prisoner.
hostage.
Prisoner. He's literally in a cage.
Prison.
A gilded cage.
In your question, did you not have the word hostage? Tell me
A
right
gilded
now.
cage. I don't remember. I've said so
Who are
many
you
words.
calling a
Sure,
hostage? Well,
convenient.
neither of them were hostage or prisoner.
Exactly.
It's a gilded cage.
This
They
is
can't
what
leave.
this is what discussion is all about.
You can't leave.
No, I
Where you
have
gonna go,
to-
Frank? There's infected out there. Where you gonna go, buddy? Huh? Where you gonna go?
Nick Offerman was, I don't know why I keep calling him Nick Offerman. And Bill was never using Frank's safety against him. That was never the case.
Do you think at one point they had a fight where they're like, I'm leaving? Well, where are you gonna go, Frank?
In the hole?
You gonna go back in the hole? You gonna hit the
go back
fire
in the hole?
pipes? I'll smoke your ass.
Honestly, the best part about being in a fight there is like, no, I'm just gonna go to the neighbor's house. I'm just gonna go to another. I'm gonna go to the boutique. I'm gonna go have my fun.
I love it.
I have to assume, and it's honestly, it's kind of purely based off of the tear that the feelings were genuine.
I would believe
he
that
was
feeling.
staying-
was
Or
Does
maybe
that
that tear was
count?
coming because he was gonna hit him over the head.
I'm gonna kill this
Lubing up.
beautiful man.
I'm gonna beat you over the head, baby. I thought I would have probably done that,
Yeah, probably.
and then not on.
I don't know how to work the gas
Yeah,
plant,
I
though,
did not know how to
so-
use the generator. Be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
just hit it. Like it's not working, and the Raiders show up. I'm like, oh god.
God! Anna, why don't you take us through some things about this show that are different from the game. This episode really got away from
Yes. So, and because hello.
Keep going.
She's turning.
The idea of just not knowing how to use the generator,
Oh,
just
Lord.
preemptively, just being stupid is something I would have done.
Because the show differs from the game so much in this
Yeah.
episode, I'm gonna put a little baby
Yeah.
spoiler warning right here. we're going to talk about the difference between Bill and Frank in the game and here. So if you truly want to play the game blind, here's your spoiler warning. You've been warned. Pretty much this entire episode is kind of new information. We never see Frank ever in the game. We see his dead body in the game.
Thank you.
Pretty much, the differences are insane.
Yeah.
Bill in the game is very brash, very outspoken, very sassy. Well, sassy is probably not the right word because he's not like flamboyant in any sort of way considering the circumstances. But he's kind of a dude. He's just like loud. He's loud and bold. Yeah. And then not like Nick Offerman at all. And then we hear that his partner, he just references him as his partner, left at some point. Later, we come across Frank's body that has been hung. Bill makes remarks that he has bite marks on him, and so Joel also doesn't know Frank at all. He's never met him.
When Joel and Ellie get to the area, Bill is alive.
Bill is there.
Bill's still alive.
Yes.
In the game?
Yeah.
No, he went there because he knew him though.
Yeah.
Because he was getting the back.
He knows Bill.
Yeah.
He doesn't know who Frank is.
No. Yes.
He's never met
Yes.
Frank.
Keep going.
Joel and Ellie show up. Bill's there. Bill's very
Yeah.
mean to Ellie because Ellie keeps touching his comic books. All that stuff.
And Bill is very set in staying in the compound, so he's never ventured out of there. They venture out to go find a battery for the car and to find the components, the parts, basically. And that's when they come across Frank's body that has been hung. It has bite marks. And so Joel's like, it seems like he didn't want to turn. He hung himself.
Yeah.
And Bill's like, cool. Later in the house, Joel finds a note from Frank that says, basically, I hate you. I would rather, you were always too chicken shit to leave the compound. I didn't like that life.
Yeah.
And you always said it'd get me killed if I left, but that's better than spending another goddamn day with you, Bill.
Yeah. Not as a happy of a relationship.
I genuinely love that note, and not loved it, but that scene, I was like, this is fun. And then throughout the entire episode, I was like, Frank's not gonna last. I was like, Frank's gonna leave and be very upset when he leaves.
And that's why I was so sketched out the whole time, like knowing that this is how the game version happened.
Yeah.
That's why I was so sketched out in the beginning. I was like, Frank doesn't like Bill, but then they changed Bill's character so much too. Yeah. Anyway, Joel, I think you have to give the note to. I've never seen a playthrough where they don't give the note to Bill and shows him.
I think you share it with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have the option to or not.
I don't know if you have to, but he shares a note with Bill, and Bill's like, "Oh, that's how you feel? Well, fuck you too, Frank."
Yeah.
And they never. There's no loving words exchanged
No.
ever, except he says he maybe cares for his partner a little bit, but no words are ever exchanged. And we actually pretty much don't know that Bill is even gay until they are driving away in the car, and Ellie has snagged a male nudie mag from Bill's room, and she's like, how do they walk with that thing? And I was like, woo.
Oh,
and that's the first time we're like, oh, they were partners potentially.
Wink.
But they never outright say it, and we
Yeah.
certainly never see Frank alive. So huge differences there. I will say the truck in the end is kind of the same.
It's very similar. They wind up in the game. They leave that area with Bill's truck.
Yes, they get
And he's
the
still
battery.
alive when they leave.
Yeah.
still alive.
He survives. So huge things. These are such massive changes, but I feel like it's because they wanted to focus on the relationships that they've always been saying.
It's also the transfer from a video game to a storytelling series for people that have not played the game. Why would you be so attached to Bill, knowing that he immediately is just
He's a dickhead. He's an asshole.
So this relationship I like so much more, but the entire time I kept going, no, Frank's gonna die. And then when Bill got shot, I went, Bill's gonna die? And Frank's gonna survive?
Yeah.
And I just kept going back and forth. And then when he was like, I'm taking the pills, I was like, okay, so Frank's gonna die.
And then Bill's gonna die too. It was very confusing.
I kept being like, I don't know.
I think everyone who's played the game and like this episode was like shock after shock. Where you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening anymore.
Yeah.
I'm totally
Where
lost.
are there strawberries?
With
I
strawberries.
saw strawberry in the video game.
Is it symbolism? Hold on. Strawberries a gay thing? I don't know. Look it up. But I felt like it was a good change because in the game, I didn't like Bill.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
probably felt
100.
like Frank was probably justified.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yep,
Frank,
yep,
but I was like,
yep.
yeah, it
It's
seems
much
about
more
right.
of a, I
100%,
think they play it more as a joke in the video game, I would say. And this is a much more tender way to explore the concept
Yeah.
of love in this show.
Bill was very silly to me.
Yeah.
When in the game, I was like, this man's a little
He was
wild.
comedic.
He's
He
wild.
was comedic.
And here it's like, this is a serious relationship. Here you have to live through
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love just the way how they still got the battery.
They still
They
got
still
the
got the
battery.
battery.
Still got the battery.
We're on track, baby.
And we go back to the
They
video
better
game.
say, I want them to say battery every episode
Stop.
of the show.
And then
Battery.
and you guys make me think of it every time
It's
you
so
say
good.
it. I'm always like,
you
Pedro
haven't,
Pascal did not say it that way.
Go back and watch the first episode around the 59-minute mark. Pedro Pascal gives the line delivery that will win him the Emmy, where he says, I need the battery, Tess. Insert clip.
I need the battery, Tess.
Let's go over kill counts real fast. Joel, 0 kills.
No,
this
don't
episode.
go into this.
Ellie?
Don't go into this.
Ellie gets 1 kill. Little
No.
infected boy stuck under the rubble. I would handicap her on this one.
Yeah, I
infected.
would. I would say 0.
Are we counting the infect?
We're gonna count it.
Oh my god.
She does stab
She
someone. in the
murdered
eye.
that
is
infected
true.
man.
That is true. She did stab it in the eye. It's different than
And
just like shooting.
I think
No, we
the
don't.
kill count leader
no,
this episode
no,
gotta be our
no,
boy Bill.
No.
2 confirmed kills. He definitely killed some raiders too. I think.
Oh, one was on fire.
The fire. He's definitely shooting some of them. He's got a rifle with a scope.
I can't
It's
believe
really
he
hard to
If we're
tell. An
counting
electrified guy.
Hey, he killed that infected in the woods, the individual one that hit the tripwire.
Oh,
Are we
yeah.
counting infected or aren't we?
Yeah, we'll count.
I need
I
rules.
apologize.
I think it's the way that the infected is killed maybe counts because it's more gruesome.
I need
Yeah.
consistency in my life.
I think
Not here.
I think we.
Well, he also
Yeah.
gave Bill 2 kills, which I would not do.
Why are
I
we
mean, those
doing
are
a
two
kill
good kills.
count?
Because are you counting himself as one?
Yes. Self-inflicted. He's unalive.
John
folks.
doesn't count.
So now let's. This is your heavy spoiler talk warning. Heavy. We're gonna talk about anything we want, from DLCs to future games to part 2s, whatever. So briefly before we go, Ellie mentions this friend that knows everything there is to know about Mortal Kombat 2 when she comes across the machine. In the Left Behind DLC for Last of Us, the game, Riley brings Ellie to a busted arcade cabinet for the fictional game The Turning in the game. It wouldn't surprise us if that ends up being like a Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet in this adaptation. Like Anna was saying earlier, there's a later episode called Left Behind, that's titled Left Behind. That's probably where we'll get into a flashback that goes into Riley and Ellie and everything. One of the big scenes from the game that happens with Bill is our first introduction to a bloater in the high school. There's this whole side mission where they go to try to find a truck and they introduce to a bloater. Do you think Joel and Ellie will have to experience that alone, or will the show tweak the reveal of the bloater a little bit? Like,
I mean, he come in
are they gonna save it for like the last episode or something like that?
Oh no!
Not the last episode,
no.
but later.
Although now we know I'm not great at predicting.
The bloater's the one that explode, right?
The bloater is a big, in the game it's big and fat.
Yeah.
It can throw spore
Yeah.
bombs at
Don't
you.
you- is this
In
the part where
we
they're
saw
like-
one in the trailer,
It
kind of
comes out of
crawling
the fire. There's a
He's
fire.
chunky boy. Oh, there's a fire. He's a chunky boy.
Chunky boy comes out of the flames.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of where in the story are there more flames. I can think of
don't
they
know.
might
I don't
change it.
know.
I don't know. It'd
would-
be more dangerous if they faced it alone.
Yeah.
And also, you would. I would hate if they put it in the intro, but just didn't put it in this season.
Oh,
they
no.
put it in
That'll be
no,
in
they're
this
not
season.
gonna
They
do
Well,
wouldn't
you
do
said
that
at
to
the very
us.
end, so I was like,
Yeah.
I
But
don't
like
think
last
I think
episode,
it's too
but-
Since
far.
we're officially in spoiler territory, now that I'm thinking about it, it might be when they introduce Henry. And
I will be
Sam.
so mad if that's the way Sam goes. Is by a bloater.
They got a stage. Oh.
Also, Neil Druckmann, the names in this show, in the game. Sam, Henry, David, Joel,
It's easier
Ellie. It's too
to
easy.
make.
Let's have some more creative names.
Writing scripts,
Bill,
you just
Frank.
name them.
Come on.
Jessica, Ryan,
Come on.
Brandon, Anna.
One thing I was wondering, would you leave immediately? Like, they drive away pretty fast. They now have the mission.
They stuck up.
They're
I would
going
give
to
it
look
a
for
night, 'cause
Tommy
it's
now in
kinda-
Wyoming, right?
It was sunset-ish, kind of.
I know, but wouldn't you stay at this compound for like a week?
I would stay for a couple days. I'd be like, "There's no race now."
Also, like Ellie downstairs with all the guns and being like, "Come on!"
Yeah, that was a
Take
little
a few
wild.
more
That
guns.
was a
I don't
little
know.
silly.
I would stick around for a day or two and have a couple good meals, a couple
But
good showers,
also-
and a couple good shits on an actual toilet.
That's
you know what
true.
I'm talking about?
But then you're also forgetting, like, I guess people act their own way. There isn't 2 dead bodies in a room
Yeah,
that's
that is
locked
true.
in that house.
That is true.
Because you go to the neighbor's house, but it's not as nice.
That's nice. They didn't paint the neighbor's house. Resource management.
That's why Brandon shits into plastic bags.
Then why do you need a toilet if you're just now shitting
I have
in
to
plastic
save them to
bags?
show them all to my doctor.
Ew, Dr. Shazam.
We have
Dr.
to end
Shabazz.
this. We have to end it.
And that is it. That is it. Toilet humor is where I draw the line
where
from
she draws the
Brandon.
line.
From Brandon. Anyone else can do it.
This girl
That
making
is-
jokes about The White Room by Cream has a problem with my toilet humor.
Look here. That's not toilet humor. Okay, that's it for the episode of The Break Room. We'll be back next week to discuss episode 4. But we also do the show every day live at 3 p.m. talking about all the nerdy news that you need to know and that you love. Meow, 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 meow. Follow me, Lulu_Clemons. Follow Brandon at Grin and Barrick. I need to emphasize the R.
It's
and
hard.
Anna, it's Anna Vanston. So much easier than Grin and Barrick. Subscribe to The Break Room wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you guys Tuesday. Thanks for watching.
Bye.